LGBT plus Denmark. First off, what is it and what is it that you guys do?
Yeah, so LGBT plus Denmark is the national LGBT organization here in Denmark. It's the oldest in the country, but also the second oldest LGBT organization in the world. It's mainly working here in Denmark to advocate for the rights of LGBTIQ plus people and also create better well-being and safe spaces for LGBT plus people here in Denmark. We are having our office here in Copenhagen, but we also have local groups in Odense and in Aarhus and smaller groups in Jutland here in Denmark. But we also work internationally. We work with partners both in the Swana region, that's Southwest Asia, and in East and Horn of Africa. And we are starting also new projects in Europe and starting with Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. So why is it that you started off with Ukraine? Because it's far away, it's Eastern Europe. Is it because they need specifically help, or why is it that Ukraine was on your list?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, we thought, okay, we need to also work in Europe. So actually our first intention was to start working with Hungary and Poland, because that's now quite a serious situation and the degradation of human rights there for LGBT plus people. But then we realized there is already lots of focus on that area. And then also lately Denmark has a special focus and a special program on the region of Ukraine, Belarus, also because of the degradation of human rights, especially in relation to Belarus. And we jumped on the occasion of this new support of having other organizations, Danish organizations such as AMS and Dignity, who are engaging in the region. And it's traditionally a special region for Denmark. There is, in Ukraine, for instance, there is something called the Danish-Ukrainian House. So we are collaborating with what is already there to have an easier entry point, let's say. So that's strategically our focus.
So can you try to explain what is the kind of work that you're going to do in Ukraine?
Yeah, so also maybe first of all explain how Denmark does its international work. We do something called, it's very Danish, and it's working in partnerships. You can't, like the Danish development agenda is usually based on a Danish organization working together with a local organization and trying to understand what the local organization wants to do and build on that. But LGBT Denmark has been traditionally mainly working on projects that focus on the well-being of the LGBTIQ plus community and on peer-to-peer counseling and kind of community work. So usually we follow that mandate because we have quite a history of working with that. So we try to build on that. So probably that will be it. Now we are starting with a mapping. So the first project is going to be trying to see all the organizations that are present in the country. How do they work? What do they do? Understand the context, and then narrow it down to identify a partner organization and building a project together with them. Following their interests, of course, and they are prioritizing and strategizing in the country.
So it's still in an upbuilding phase, the project in Ukraine?
Yeah, we are in the mapping phase right now, getting in contact with the local organizations, having interviews with everybody, and just learning for us.
So do you have any idea about like how, when you look at Europe and cooperating with different LGBT plus organizations, is it going good? Like, do all of you guys talk together, and how does it work?
Because LGBT organizations do that? No. I mean, we do have a space such as ILGA Europe, which is really important space for European solidarity and collaborations, but it is also, I don't know, for me doing international work and having been doing this work for a while, sometimes it's easier to collaborate on other regions with other organizations than in the European sphere. I'm maybe not the most qualified person to talk of that. As I said at the beginning, like I focus on the Swana region, and that's where most of my expertise is. But having been in few international events, there is the traditional organizations who work together and the ones who are. So you have like the West Europe collaborations. We work a lot with the Netherlands, the Germany, the UK, and so on. And it is really important also to say that at some points when you just reach out to your other LGBT organizations around, the contact is really easy. So in that way, it is easier in the collaboration that has been already there, but building new ones, there is lots of differences around Europe, and the LGBT work is also in different phases, and the situation is very different. Just hearing, I've been in many panels with Hungarian and Polish activists, and just hearing about that, it feels like it's closer to when we work with our partners in north of Africa than in what we do here in Europe. So it's in Denmark I meant. So it's
So yeah, way different stages all over Europe,
Yeah.
which made it kind of difficult maybe to do some cooperation. Or
I think maybe. But at the same time, I mean, the collaboration is there, and we have you see a lot of joint statements over the years and joint advocacy work that was done through the years. So I think it's not bad or good. It's just a work in progress.
Well, just take it back to Belgium for a hot second. Like, if we look at the Belgium LGBTQ plus community, what can you guys do better?
What can we do?
Like, if we just make a list.
What can Belgium do better? Well, with regards to Belgium, I'm not sure if you know, but we still, I said that, not me personally, but we as a country, we still allow for the operations on intersex people to happen. So there's definitely work to be done on that aspect. We definitely do need to also start working from an intersectional point of view. I think that, there's a lot to be done with regards to civil society organizations. Like, they need more support, and with support I mean financial support. They need to be given access to tools that actually do help them, and this in a multitude of ways. It can't be done in just the framework that we know of that's extremely institutional. No, we need to make it extremely streamlined and actually water it down for organizations, especially civil society organizations. If they are trying to survive, then they're doing less work with the actual community that they're working for. So we need to make sure that they have what they need in order to survive, but then they also have the tools and the finances in order to continue doing the work that they have been doing with all of these communities. So for me, it's very much about making sure that we're streamlining the way that we give funds, making sure that communities actually have a say in how they apply for this funding, that it's not only defined by larger society, and larger society I tend to talk about cisgendered, heterosexual people who are defining how we can actually apply for funding, how we can actually get access to different types of tools. I think that's also something that we need to work on. But with regards to Belgium, yes, we are the second country on the ILGA World Index, but that does not mean that everything is okay. Like, there's still a lot of work to be had, and just like everywhere else, we need to pick up the pace as well. We need to move our butts, and we also need to just make sure that not only cisgendered white men are representing us or in our governments or at our civil society organizations. We need to make sure that it's for everybody, because when I talk about the LGBTI community, I talk about everybody. I talk about the sex workers, I talk about the transgender people, I talk about the people who are differently ably diverse, I talk about the people who don't have it as well as I do. I'm trying to think about everybody under me and make sure that they have something to say, should they want to say it, and say it how they want to say it. There's not one specific way of communicating. We need to keep on, englobing and enriching and stretching out this definition of diversity that we have, of inclusion in and of itself, and we need to make sure that people can also contribute to those definitions.
Vladimir, you're from the LGL in Lithuania.
Yes.
First off, can you explain what LGL is?
Well, Lithuania was start our LGBT activism in '91. We organized a culture club in '93, but in '95 we understood that it's time to be more active, proactive on LGBT rights, and we established Lithuanian Gay League in '95. and our organization now exists for more than 25 years. This is the main LGBT organization in our country.
Okay, like when you look at Lithuanian and LGBT rights, like from when you started back in 1991 until now, how have you progressed a lot, or?
Yeah, I have to say that of course Lithuania has not easy historic way, because we became independent in 91, and of course we have to understand that in Soviet time homosexuality was forbidden, criminalized, and of course when Lithuania became independent, we were quite naive that changes will come soon. And of course Lithuania decriminalized homosexuality in 1994. We became legal in our country. Then Lithuania joined European Union, and we thought that, well, now we will be equal as in all European countries. And now I see the way is much longer. I don't like this term, but my feeling that we have two ways of equality in our European Union, because when we became a member of elite club, I'm talking about the European Union, my feeling that our country just a little relaxed, and I think that well, they did too much enough for LGBT community, and I have to say that after Lithuania joined European Union in 2004, nothing was done more than before in Lithuania, and it shows that we're still waiting for clear political agenda for LGBT community and LGBT rights in our country.
So if we look into the future, let's say 5 or 10 years, where would you like Lithuanian to be? Realistically.
How many years?
5 or 10?
5, it will be not bad if we will be just a little closer to the middle of the Europe. I mean that probably what I see the situation today, I listen to that Prague. Who else might be good example for me? Of course, Belgium. But you know, but I'm not so naive. We will need more time to be equal with other countries. Of course, I have to see that all Scandinavian countries, this is a good example for us. I have to say, look at, I wanted to say UK, but UK, they left us. But anyway, it's a good example for me. And of course, Spain. It's quite a lot of countries who are already on the right track. But I'm not so naive that it might change in 5 years. No. We might move in the right direction, but whole Europe might be much faster than we.
When we talk about Finland and LGBT rights, how are you guys doing on that? Is there a good progression when it comes to LGBT rights in general?
Yeah, there is, and I'm so happy that, for example, non-binary people and the diversity of gender is becoming more and more accepted, and people know about non-binary people's existence more and more. But still, non-binary people can feel really invisible and really like that they are truly like forgotten in the society most of the time. But I've seen during the last few years that we are being able to raise our voices and become more visible little by little. And they've been small steps, but they are still there. And every time transgender people and non-binary people get a space to talk about their experiences, or just be there, for example in the media, and the focus isn't on their gender. It's a huge win for me, because I think that the usual way to represent trans people in media is to concentrate, for example, their suffering and medical transition and so on. But nowadays I think that there are more and more different kind of stories represented, and there should be much more, but the way things are going is really positive.
Nicholas, we're standing here in front of your stand at the Human Rights Conference here in Copenhagen 2021, World Pride. What is LGBT Asylum?
LGBT Asylum, as the name implies, is the group that fights for the rights of LGBTI asylum seekers and refugees who come to Denmark. Yeah. So some of the work that we do, is we assist those people who are coming to Denmark and seeking asylum. We help them with their asylum applications, because it's a tough process to navigate. So we help them with their asylum applications, and we also offer counseling and support. Counseling both in the sense that if some people feel traumatized or they're anxious about their situation, and we provide them with contact persons, mostly to prepare them with their cases. Yeah.
When you look at LGBTQ rights here in Denmark, is there any place where you think that we can improve?
Yeah. This is the first country that I came to, and I'm grateful that I was accepted. But then I'm also of the opinion that the threshold or burden of proof, whatever you'd call it, for somebody to prove either their sexuality or whatever it is that they claim, I think it is in a way unreasonably high. So I guess if we could look at that, yeah. That is I think that is one of the challenges that I have, yeah.